There was a challenge here.
Well, some of the same things kind of ultimately face him. You know, he's got his son, which is his big challenge in this, you know, establishing a relationship with his son. But he's still, like, the things that made him the character in the first one, you know, jumping into a world where he's not super familiar and having to sort of figure out his way, having challenges that he faces that are seemingly insurmountable. Those are similar things that happen to him in this one as well.
I think George Miller, he's far more Louis Buñuel than he is Walt Disney. He likes his darkness, and you look at Pig in the City, you look at the first Happy Feet, and obviously the Mad Maxes.
Yeah,
there is a sense that that first film was like a, you know, it was just full of existential angst, and this is like 100 minutes of shimmering, kaleidoscopic, beautiful, you know, anxiety for kids. There's a sort of, you know, he gets down into that
great way to describe it.
But is that something that attracts you because this is not your typical Walt Disney moment? This is kind of dealing with issues all the time, that just how people overcome fears, how they establish themselves as people, or penguins in this case. Part of the attraction, I guess, for you then.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's what we loved about the first film, the fact that it was an animated family film, but it also got into real human issues. It had real things to say, and the characters are going through major changes. And it was a very multi-layered experience, that first film. And I think we all knew that was going to very much be a part of the second film. It's, I think, the way that George likes to work, and I think it's the kinds of stories that he wants to tell. There has to be a real heart to it, and there has to be, I think, some real things that are happening to these characters. I think what I loved about this, in some ways, was how dynamic it became, how large the world seemed, particularly in that we now go into the sea, and we experience the perspective of two tiny krill. But in some ways, those krill are going through much larger existential issues than the characters on the surface. And then it's that kind of thing of, like, you know, what are we in the world, or in, you know, sort of juxtaposed against the cosmos? And that's the questions that they're asking. And it's amazing. Extraordinary in the context of an animated movie, but it's also that thing where you can see it and take those things from it. They're all there for you to sort of pick and choose what you get from it, but it can also be enjoyed on this sort of visceral level as well.
It's going to confuse the hell out of some kids.
Or they'll just love the dancing and the singing and the 3D, you know.
You're an incredibly busy man. You've got the wonderful Wilfred's on television. You've just completed No Treasure Island for TV. You've got 2 movies, Celeste and Jessie Forever, and what is it called?
Revenge for Jolly.
That's the one.
Yeah.
You've also got Maniac that's coming up. You've got Tron series, the Uprising thing. Maybe these are all part of, but you've also got Peter Jackson's...
I don't think I could list it off that fast.
But I think you've got Peter Jackson's Dwarfs Gone Wild double bill down in New Zealand.
Dwarfs Gone Wild! 13 of the fuckers.
Was it ever a kind of concern on your part that the difficult second album syndrome might kick in? Because it took a long time to get this up and running, and Guillermo was there, Peter was there, and all that. But I don't know if there's a part of you thinks this is, you know, such an expectation, because we did such a beautiful job the first time around with Lord of the Rings. Will this be difficult second album? Will this be Sandinista? Will it be Tusk?
Oh God, if it was Sandinista, that'd be kind of rad. You know, I don't think so. I think that the anticipation is super high, and understandably. It's largely the same creative team. So Alan Lee and John Howe are down there doing conceptual art. Dan and Chris Henna are doing all of the production design. Andrew Lesney is shooting it. You know, from a technical and artistic standpoint, it's very much the same team. Post Guillermo, you know, it's become more of Peter's film. He's at the helm. So I think Pete is very aware, as of course he should be, that he is making something that will ultimately have to blend with quite seamlessly with the work that we've done in Rings. So I think he's very aware of that. At the same time, I also think he's aware of the fact that it is a different film tonally. The stakes aren't as high. It's ultimately, if you read The Hobbit, it's an adventure tale. It's a very linear, quite funny adventure tale with these sort of bumbling 13 dwarves and you know, a kind of slightly comedic, awkward Bilbo at the heart of it. So I think tonally it's going to feel quite different. The stakes aren't as high, but they also delve into the world of what's happening chronologically at the same time, which is going to, I think, surprise a lot of people and I think excite a lot of fans.
Sweet. I think
How was that for an encapsulating answer?
That's beautiful, man. We can use that.